Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Revenue Diaries. Before we get into today's guests and what we talk about, I'd love to thank our sponsors, Share Your Genius at shareyourgenius.com. What you're listening to, the edits, the beautiful music, all the social posts, everything that I'm doing around this podcast is supported by this company. If you are thinking about content strategy, podcast strategy, media strategy, please go check them out. You should talk to them, shareyourgenius.com. I've been working with them for years. Okay, today's episode is actually a boomerang guest from when I first did this podcast back in 2020. Adam Schoenfeld is a friend, seasoned entrepreneur. I've known him for years. He has been in the game for a long time. Right now, he's the driving force behind Keyplay. Highly recommend you check them out as well. We all deal with ICP issues. Keyplay helps solve them. We talk a lot about parenting, time, how time is fleeting, how we deal with professional milestones, the work-life balance between kids and a grueling schedule in a career. And then we talk a little bit about legacy and how Adam's grandfather really shaped him as a human being. I love this episode. Adam is an extremely influential person in my life, and I hope that you enjoy. Thank you. Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Revenue Diaries. I'm here with my friend Adam Schoenfeld. Adam, thank you for joining us. This is actually your second time on Revenue Diaries. He was one of the original when I started this thing in 2020. I mean, that's 5 years ago.
That was thick of COVID, by the way. I think we were like 4 months into COVID.
It was almost 5 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is crazy.
That is crazy.
What really throws me off is that my 6-year-old was, well, now he's about to be 7. He was like 2 years old, which is crazy, which is also crazy. It's just, time is nothing. Maybe that's the title of this interview.
Oh, I love it. Just
time is nothing.
The headline right there. We're
time is
40
fleeting.
seconds in.
We can't control any of it. All right, give people some background. What do you do? Who you are?
Mostly I start companies. I've done that a few times, all in marketing and sales tech. Right now I'm working on Keyplay, keyplay.io. Check it out. No ads for Keyplay.
Say what it is.
Keyplay helps you model your ICP, score and prioritize every account in your market, and discover the best fit companies to target in sales and marketing. And this problem of ICP is one that's hard to solve. And I think we have a really good approach to it, and something I'm pretty obsessed with.
And I think Jellyfish should be using it, but I can confirm that there are a lot of marketers out there that very much enjoy using Keyplay. So good job. You're doing good work.
Love to hear it. That's what we're going for. Happy customers.
Hey, you got a lot of them. I hear it all the time. Okay, so you're multiple founder. You've got a family. How many kids do you have?
2.
And how old are they?
11 and 9.
11 and 9. Okay. So multiple founder. I can't say I've sat in the founder role, but I can imagine by watching that it is somewhat of a grind and you're working constantly. I have a question about like work-life balance, but what's something your kids have taught you that's changed your approach to life?
Well, I think they have such a great way of looking at new things, and this like optimism and openness. I'm not sure if I'm saying it perfectly, but as we get older, right, we kind of develop a lot of opinions, and we can be a little stuck on some of those opinions. And I think my kids at least have reminded me that, that when you get fresh eyes on something and that excitement and that just energy that you can get, like my daughter, she actually has a little bit of a maybe entrepreneurial nature to her. She recently was like figuring out how to make crayons and in these like cute molds. And she's like, I want to sell these online. And when she saw Etsy and when she was like just exploring all these things I took for granted, she was just so positive and curious. I was like, man, if I could just infuse a little bit of that more into the way I approach my day and conversations with people and problems that I'm facing, that would probably be really good.
How do you make sure that you encourage that? My youngest is a salesman. Like, we do garage sales, and he will sit out there for 8 hours and swindle people all day long with Pokemon cards and lamps and random clothes from his room. And I want to bottle that energy, and I want to make sure that they maintain that sense of accomplishment. How do you approach that when you see that your kids really like something that you also feel will be valuable for them in the future?
Right. Like, how do you nurture that and allow them to be themselves without guiding them too much? Yeah. Gosh, parenting is so hard because all these things are just so, I feel impossible. I don't think I have a good framework to answer this. I think my answer is I just do my best to not screw it up too bad.
Well, so you had that situation with the crayons, right?
Mm-hmm. I just tried with that not to be too prescriptive about, oh, you should... That's really a crappy product photo you're taking there. You need to get like portrait mode on and zoom in on that. And like, you should probably package these SKUs by type instead of by color. Like, I just tried to avoid taking my perspective about marketing and how products get sold online and my experiences. I tried to just avoid judging and just kind of be helpful. Oh, you need help clicking through the form? Okay. You don't have a login? All right. I'll like just try to help unblock you. And with my son, I think I try to like maybe nudge him on a few things that I know he's going to be excited about a little bit more. My daughter, she kind of has like tons of energy and it's just like, let her cook.
Let her go.
Yeah.
Let her cook. Good. That's like a young term. That's young slang.
I'm trying that
good
on a podcast too.
You've got some riz. That's good.
Dude, we don't even need to get into the middle school. I can't track the words.
My kids love saying that they're cooking people, like, oh, I just cooked him, or my son. Oh my God, I can't. I feel I'm definitely my father, which is a whole nother thing to unpack. But all right, so founder, dad. I ask this of most people that I interview because it's something I struggle with pretty much every freaking minute I'm with my family. But how do you remain present when you're not working? Do you have a way to calm your mind? Is your mind going 100 miles an hour all the time? I talked to Rob Joyner recently, who's an artist, and he's a founder and artist on the side. He puts his phone away at certain hours. He doesn't work on the weekends. Like, what have you put in place to ensure that you remain present with your family, even though you got a lot of shit going on?
I would say if you were to rate me on this, each week or day, that my rating varies from terrible to awesome. And so I don't think I have a magical formula. Like, my performance, if you will, just varies widely. So I think there are some times when just I'm like, hey, I need to work on something, and it's the evening and we just finished dinner. And I think in those cases, I just I do this thing that drives me nuts when I do it, but just a sec. And so I'm trying to avoid that one right now. And I'm trying to say, hey, I need about 40 minutes. It's the end of the month. I got to respond to a couple of things, or I had a really hard problem I was working on today. And I try to just give them a little bit of context because they know like that I'm working and they know that it's important to me that I'm building my business. So that's one I'm working on. I wouldn't say I'm great at that.
But you're explaining it to them too, which is also teaching them.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think another thing that we don't talk about enough is that I have a great partner in crime, my wife, Rachel, who understands that there are times when I have to go get something out of the way or work on it. And she's very good at understanding when that has to happen and ask me, hey, do you need to go take care of that so you are fully here and you're not thinking about some random thing you got to do?
That's so good that she cues you like that too, to opt in or opt out.
And of course, me, I'm like, oh, no, I don't need to go do it. And which 99.9% of the time I need to go do whatever she's saying. So I think that's also important, is that you have a balance of making sure that you have a partner in crime. I'm lucky to have one that can help make sure the kids aren't interrupting me during that time or anything else, but making sure that we're balancing me not going crazy or, bringing the stress home is what is hardest for me to not do that.
It's hard. It's especially when I'm in the work from home too. So there's no line. I found it easier when I would commute and there's sort of these boundaries. So I think it bleeds over more. I try not to have the phone at the dinner table. right? There's a few simple things like that. I either set it on my desk or just leave it in my pocket. I don't let the notifications happen at night. So like I'll pull from Slack, but I won't let Slack,
So you do not, like, I don't do notifications at all.
No, I don't either. Yeah, never. Yeah, okay. I don't have the phone. I have them on the computer. So like when I'm in the workday and the computer's open, that's fine. It's a few little things like that, but I wouldn't say I'm the grand master of presence. It's just trying to check in with it. I do one vacation every year where the laptop doesn't get opened.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. There's 1 or 2 weeks out of the year where I'm mostly unplugged, which is a good thing.
Oh, say I don't do mostly. I'm dark.
You're completely unplugged.
Completely. And it's Thanksgiving week. And what I do, I delete all the apps from my phone. I close the laptop. I'm dark. So you got to call me if you need me.
And even then, I'm not going to answer. Wow. Okay. So I don't do that. That's good.
That's one. And then we go on multiple other trips because school age kids, you have your breaks. So we go visit grandparents. We do this and that. And usually those, I try to just say, hey, I got to work this morning. Then we'll go do something. Then we'll go to the zoo.
Yeah. Or I'll get up really early and go work until like 8 and then come home and we'll have that time. But
that's a good one too.
For those of you listening, I wasn't planning on asking Adam this, but I'm interested.
You don't send any questions in advance, so neither of us know what's going to happen here.
That's true. Do you remember actively thinking about your parents working too much growing up?
No, I don't remember. My parents were divorced and my mom kind of worked on and off. My dad worked and I didn't have a lot of interaction with my dad's work.
I find that interesting because I don't necessarily remember that either growing up. And we're spending so much time talking about us being present. And in the reality, as long as we're like trying, we're probably okay.
Yeah. I'm in the house with the laptop doing stuff. And then when I was a kid, like my dad is a retailer, worked in furniture business. So you go to the store and you sell furniture and then you come home. And so it's just a very different dynamic.
Yes, very different. And then our kids are going to experience a completely different dynamic, which we have no idea what it's going to look like because our world's changing daily at the moment because of AI, right? But we're not going to talk about work. Speaking of parents, what are some core values that you actually remember your parents instilled in you that you try to pass on to your own children?
Oh, that I try to pass on. The big one for me is honesty, which is in my book is you tell the truth, even if it's hard to tell the truth. And that's come from my parents as well as my grandfather, who was a big influence on me growing up, almost like a extra parent because he was super young relative to being a grandpa. He's still alive. He's 92. I'm 42. He's 92. We still hang out. He's amazing. And so all of them were big on, you tell the truth. There's no wiggle room on that one. And I try to keep that one with my kids.
What type of influence did he have on you? I think it's rare to have, well, it was rare for me because I didn't grow up. I saw my grandparents once a year because we lived in Indiana and most people lived in Washington State.
Yeah.
Like what type of influence did he have or still has on you actually?
Well, we still spend a lot of time together. We'd play golf together. We'd go fishing. We'd go for a week. I'd go with him fishing for a week every summer. And it'd be me and him and my grandma. And I'd be like out with that generation, as a 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kid all the way up, all the way through. We spent a lot of hours on golf. So golf was like my thing as a teenager. And then I played competitively a bunch. And he was like the one that got me into golf. So a lot of car rides driving to and from golf courses and playing golf and talking. And, so he and I had a lot of time to just talk and he would kind of impart some of his lessons in his very special way.
What do you mean? What do you mean though? Give me an example.
Well, he was a guy that he had kind of a rough exterior sometimes, if you just met him, but he's like really got a sweet interior. So that was one thing that I kind of got from him. And then, just the way you do things. So on the boat, he'd be like, go tie that line there. And he'd just be kind of ordering me around, honestly. This is some of the best memories was him ordering me around. And then he'd tell me, he'd give me like really direct feedback about what I was doing wrong and why this is right and why this is important. I think I just kind of soaked up like he had these principles about what you put in, effort, thinking about like quality and relationships. And, he taught me a lot through just kind of doing work for him. And then in golf, I think he taught me like a really big work ethic and practice and how do you think about the game. So all that sort of mapped into my psyche somewhere.
I mean, that's great. Do you still play golf?
Not as much. I play like 5 rounds a year these days.
How competitive are we talking high school, college, even after?
No, not
I don't
after.
know anything
I played
about this.
high school and then Division III college. And my best, I was a 2 handicapper. So yeah.
I play like once a year. My handicap is.
I'll get back to it sometime. I'd love to play with you sometime. It'd be fun.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't. I'll drive the car around. You can.
Perfect.
We'll invite Dave Gerhardt and I'll just drive the car.
Oh yeah, can we record some videos or something? Yeah,
of course. Like, why wouldn't we? We should.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this next question is something that I've been thinking a lot about. I do not have an answer for right now, and I would be interested in what your grandfather would say to this. And maybe you know, but what personal legacy do you hope to leave with your family based off how you're living your life? Beyond the personal achievements, which we're both very lucky that we've had good professional achievements, right? Like beyond the professional, like what type of legacy?
This is something I think very little, I think zero about this. I do not think about legacy. I'm like not concerned with my legacy. I just hope that my kids will carry forward a few of the values that I think really matter and that will be important forever, like honesty.
Do you think your grandfather thinks about it?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm going to ask him.
You should.
I'm going to ask him. My grandma passed in the last few years and she left a big like hole in the family because she was kind of the one that glued everybody together. And so she was the one that's kind of made sure everybody knew how important family was and how to mend relationships. And she would write people letters like, longhand if you got out of line. I don't know if she thought about legacy, but she left a very, significant mark on everybody from that. I don't know how he thinks about it.
Maybe that's the lesson. I mean, my Aunt Wendy, who passed 5 years ago, she was also that glue that every year we went to their house in Northern Idaho. She was the one that made it a point to go to every single person over that week to talk to them. And you thought you were the only person that mattered in the world when she was talking to you. She was the one that would write you letters for your birthday. She would randomly call. And it's fascinating because I don't think she thought of it that way at all. I think that was just, eventually I want to write a book about this, maybe. But if you look back on things she was writing about when she was 17, 18, 19 years old, it was the same type of mentality. She cared deeply about what other people were doing, how they were living their life, how she could help them. And it was almost like it was ingrained in her from the beginning. But I think it's that hole that they leave is painful, but also strangely empowering.
Well, it's sort of when that person's gone, I think it sort of reminds everybody else that, hey, we've got to make sure that we carry that forward and we honor those ideas, those values, right? I mean, and when you see somebody that has that kind of character where they're thinking of others and they're thinking of family in that way, I think it has a really kind of indelible mark.
Yeah, well, because you don't actually think about it while they're around. It's when you lose them that it's so much more empowering, which is fascinating because then you're like, holy shit, like that was so impactful. Like the life that she lived was so impactful. And now her kids are trying to like lean into that and be those people. And I don't know, I think when I think about legacy, it's that. It's how do you make sure that the people around you know that you care? And if you can do that and do it well, then that's enough legacy that you need to leave. And then you can put your name on the side of a gymnasium or something. And
that's the part that I'm not really interested in. I mean, maybe if I have enough success to help somebody build a gymnasium, I'd love to, but
Schoenfeld
sure, but
gymnasium.
The part of sort of being a role model to the next generation in some way, like, can they just pick up something that was good about me?
Just one thing.
Yeah, because I know there's going to be all these flaws that they're going to remember too, but if they can pick out one thing and try to double down on that or carry that forward in how they live, that would be, I think, a win.
Kids, if you're ever listening to this, know that Adam and I care deeply and we want to pass at least one positive thing.
Yeah.
You can keep all the negative stuff, but just one positive.
We're trying our best here.
We are. All right, last question. If you were to go back in time and talk to 21-year-old Adam, who's probably getting yelled at by his grandfather for doing something, what would you tell him?
Oh, that guy, 21-year-old. It'd probably be something about learn from others, read, listen.
Listen, yes.
Right? Ask.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for joining me, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kyle. You don't know as much as you think, and combine that with some patience, right? And think long-term thinking. Because I think that's what I think, at least for me when I was younger, was harder to stretch the time horizon and think out 5 or 10 years. I had a lot of energy and drive, but maybe not a ability to kind of look out on the horizon and have that kind of patience. I think that kind of ties in with like the reading and listening and learning part a little bit more.
When did you start your first business? Like, how old were you?
It ties to this. I was really young. I was 26 or something.
And do you feel like having some of that time horizon mentality would have benefited you?
Absolutely. In some ways, starting that young was really good because I got to, do trial by fire. But in other ways, if I had just been a little more motivated to learn from others and study who had come before and read and listen and find mentors and do the work, I think I probably would have been better off or found a faster path to sort of where I wanted to go.
But again, for everybody listening, Adam has been successful, is building a great business. So, we can look in hindsight for places where we failed. I have plenty of them. But the reality is that you learn and you evolve. And I'm sure 21-year-old Adam would be proud, as well as 21-year-old Kyle. I'd have to tell Kyle to put down cigarettes because I was smoking at 21. I probably shouldn't have been, but...
Yeah, that'd be good advice for your 21-year-old self. Put those down.
The only time I smoked is when I played golf, so that's the problem. It's like golf
that's actually a common thing, yeah.
All right, man. Where can people go to connect with you, see what you're doing? Keyplay.io, of course, but where else?
LinkedIn, probably the best. I'm posting on LinkedIn, so look me up there. Be happy to connect.
Also, look in the liner notes for the first conversation we had during COVID when we were both losing our minds.
That's right.
We had to have been.
We had a fun conversation then, and I've enjoyed this.